Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. The RCMP's original investigation into the death of 22-year-old Colten Boushie will be reviewed by a federal independent police watchdog. Civilian Review and Complaints Commission announced it will take a look at how the RCMP investigated the 2016 killing of Boushie by Gerald Stanley, a farmer from Biggar, Saskatchewan. According to Commission Chairperson Guy Bizou, Colten Boushie's family requested the review. He said there are things that happened during the investigation that raise concerns. Questions about whether or not the RCMP conducted the investigation correctly and if race had anything to do with the behavior of the members.
The way that the RCMP members went to the house, the way they circled the house, and the way that the media essentially were given information as a result of that. So those are all the elements, and other things will come out in the course of the investigation. We don't prejudge any of this going in. We are an independent body, unaffiliated with the RCMP, and our job is to basically go in and to take the concerns of individuals and to address them and come up with findings, if findings there are, and make recommendations that will actually change the behavior of the RCMP going forward.
Alvin Baptiste, the uncle of Colten Boushie, filed a complaint with the RCMP and the Commission. He says the investigation is great news, but doesn't want to get his hopes up. Says he's been disappointed by the justice system too many times. Baptiste says the RCMP officers were ignorant and rude when they informed his sister about the death of her son.
They had no compassion at all, or sympathy at all. They treated her like she was just another indigenous person that they looked down upon.
Another report on justice, and the statistics continue to be bleak for Indigenous peoples. An Ottawa-based think tank graded the provinces and territories in access and attitudes towards the justice system. And as APTN's Todd Lamoran reports, Alberta was singled out for initially refusing to cooperate.
Indigenous incarceration rates since 2012 in Alberta were left out of the Macdonald-Laurier Institute's ranking of provinces and territories. But today, figures for the last 2 years were released. And in 2016-17, just under 38% of Indigenous men and just under 51% of Indigenous women made up all of those who are behind bars.
And those numbers they're shocking. I mean, this is really quite appalling that these numbers are this high to begin with, but to have a complete lack of accountability and to have kept those numbers secret for 5 years is completely unconscionable.
The Alberta incarceration rates are higher than the national average.
It's pretty bad when it's no longer newsworthy that over 50% of the women in Alberta prisons are Indigenous, and people kind of go, oh yeah, shrug.
The report also looked at a multitude of things, from violent crime rates to justice costs, to the efficiency of the system, and even to how fair people believe the police are. Western provinces and Northern Territories got the worst grades, with Manitoba finishing last amongst provinces.
But we need to have a commitment. There can't be two sort of separate groups of people in the country. One group that lives in substandard living conditions with very poor health outcomes and end up over-incarcerated and over-victimized, and another group that sort of looks away. That can't be allowed to happen anymore. And
the Institute hopes the data holds governments to account.
I've already been contacted in the last 24 hours by two senior officials in the Yukon, who was the territory that faced the worst record in the country, 13th out of 13, looking to engage. And so that's hopeful. That's a positive development.
Karen would also like to see more data collected from the 3 territories. Right now, Stats Canada doesn't collect opinions about how confident you are in the court and justice systems in the North. Todd Lamoran, APTN National News, Ottawa.
An update to the House Six Nations police are keeping a watch on. Located beside an elementary school on the territory near Brantford, Ontario. Couga Road is closed to traffic between the 5th and 4th line in Six Nations. The police are maintaining a presence at the site, but due to the ongoing investigation, could not give more information at this time. The parents and other concerned citizens have left the area, The I.L. Thomas School will remain closed for the rest of the week. And we would like to hear what you have to say about this or any other story. Here's how to contact us. Send an email to news@aptn.ca, like our APTN National News Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter @APTN News, or go to our website, aptnnews.ca. For months, the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls has been saying that it needs an extension. Today, they formally asked for it. Tuesday's request to the federal government is for 2 more years and an additional $50 million in funding. The inquiry says it needs the extension to better reach Two-Spirit people, as well as vulnerable women who may be homeless, incarcerated, or being sexually exploited. We'd also like to commission studies in those same areas where they feel data is lacking.
All commissioners are in strong agreement that an additional 2 years is required to do the work properly, to satisfy our critically important mandate, and to provide effective recommendations for change that will enhance the safety and security of Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQ people.
A community in Antigonish has been hit with racist graffiti overnight. Much of the graffiti was left at East Antigonish Education Center and Academy. A bus and the building itself were tagged. Indigenous students at the school are being dismissed at 11 a.m. and were offered support services. Ryan McDonald of CTV News reports.
They say words can hurt, and these ones certainly did. Racist graffiti spray painted on school buses, road signs, and East Antigonish Education Center itself between 8 and 9 last night. Outside the school today, people were outraged.
That is terrible.
That's horrible.
That is really terrible. And in a school where all different kinds of people go to it,
oh yeah, well,
it shouldn't be.
These words caused the most pain in this First Nations community just a few kilometers away. Plenty of students from here go to the school that was targeted.
Unfortunately, it's ignorance. I pray for the people that wrote it, that there are obviously things going on with them to do such things, I guess. So we're going to need some healing here.
Students say it made for a difficult school day.
I know my First Nation friends are really, really upset and confused at what the point is of why anyone would do that.
By noon, most of the graffiti on the school itself had been removed or covered up. RCMP were at the school investigating. Strait Regional School Board officials were on hand offering support services, along with a letter sent home to parents. The Mounties say video surveillance captured at the school and at nearby businesses may help find whomever is responsible.
With the video evidence that was able to obtain in this particular situation, it should be very handy with the investigators.
We take this incident very seriously and are working very hard to make sure that our schools are safe learning environments for all students.
First Nations students who attend this school were sent home for the day at 11 o'clock this morning, a decision that was made by the Band Council.
Whether that's a right or wrong decision, at the time I was concerned for the safety of our kids.
Somebody do something like that.
That's unreal. Hard to figure that out.
Summing up the hurt and anger felt by many after such blatant racist graffiti.
Time for a quick break, and then we'll take you along an annual 3-week trek into the mountains. Here's a look at Wednesday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. +3 in Charlottetown and Halifax. Sunny and -3 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Cartwright. -2 in Chibougamau, -3 in Sept-Îles, +1 in Montreal. Snow across parts of the south of Ontario, +3 in London, +4 in Toronto. -5 in Thunder Bay, -8 in Sioux Lookout. Over to Manitoba, -13 in Churchill, -6 in Thompson and Norway House, -5 in Barons River and Brandon, 6 below for Winnipeg. In Saskatchewan, sunny and -7 in Yorkton and Saskatoon, 8 below in Buffalo Narrows and Uranium City. Welcome back. Inu Elders, or Elizabeth as many know her, has embarked on her annual 3-week walk into the mountains. Justin Brake now with more on the Inu Elders' efforts to protect Inu land, culture, and identity.
You see that a tree so beautiful, see mountains so beautiful, everything so beautiful.
For almost 2 decades, Panashaway has walked for her people and their way of life.
Sometimes the government said, oh, the people, he don't hunt, he don't go anymore in the bush. No, it's not true. It's not true. We want to show government, people very respect the land, animals, and water, and my people, the children, young children. I don't want the children to get lost our culture.
Jolene Jakapesh of Natuashish First Nation is one of about a dozen people joining Panashaway on the walk this year.
Like, go hunting with Elizabeth and, like, just enjoy the nature.
Settlers from St. John's and Toronto are walking too. This is Lucas Milik Boston's second walk.
It's what Elizabeth wants from it, is what I want to share, and that's, to show people how important the land is and how important animals are and how important the trees are, and that the Innu people know how to respect those things, and that their way of life is strong, and that it's important, and that it still exists.
Panashaway has long advocated for Innu rights in the face of colonial encroachment on Nidasinan, the Innu word for our land, and the dispossession of Innu people from their lands.
All people very sad what happened, like Mushcot Falls and Voices Bay, just make a big damage our land, our river, and we want to show him, look, we want to make a government understand why the people are always concerned.
She says large industrial projects are threatening the Innu, and that youth could lose their culture and identity.
And I explained many times to my grandchildren, I said it's very, very important school in our culture. You Innu, don't never ever think I'm a white person. No, you got to know you Innu people, and you got to learn. I don't want you to get lost. Our culture is so important.
Panashaway and the others will hike into the Mealy Mountains, where they will spend 3 weeks hunting, camping, and learning the ways of the Innu. The elder says she will continue the walks as long as she can. Justin Brake, APTN National News, Shehiji First Nation.
And an update now on this story. Panashaway and her fellow walkers encountered slush as they crossed the ice below the Churchill River. A snowmobile carrying Panashaway across the slush tipped over. She had to be taken to hospital to have her knee examined and is awaiting results. She said she will continue the walk as soon if she can. The Native Women's Association of Quebec has been awarded $300,000 to lead a 2-year project with elders. MPs Pierre Moreau and Jeffrey Kelly announced the financing for the project in Ganawage. The project is expected to recognize the wisdom of First Nations elders. Workshops will be held all across the 11 First Nations in Quebec. Jennifer Brazo is the project's coordinator.
For the project, we're hoping that it goes beyond just exchanges between elders and youth, but it helps to develop confidence with elders and to be able to help develop a network amongst each other so that they can speak out also against any other issues that they're facing today in the modern world. And also by traveling around and sharing these stories, we're going to be compiling them all in a book that can be transmittable to other youth and elders within the community and have a document that's going to be there for a long time.
The Yukon government has tabled their annual budget at $1.47 billion. It's the largest in the territory's history, with over $2 million being allocated to foster reconciliation with Yukon First Nations. The government will spend $1.5 million on housing for First Nations. Another $300,000 will go to programs that enhance land-based healing and Indigenous women organizations. And another $325,000 will be allocated to Indigenous athletes. In his budget speech, Premier Sandy Silvers said building a strong Yukon also means having strong Yukon First Nations.
The conversations between our government and the Yukon First Nations is also becoming more productive. Together, we are taking significant action on reconciliation and on building a true government-to-government relationship.
Community radio has deep roots in Northwest Territories, provides a platform for people from small communities to listen and broadcast their own stories. Now, one group in Yellowknife hope to be the next big community station. It's taken a year and a half of planning, but this week, Cabin Radio went live online. The station was paid for through fundraising, and they hope to have an FM station up this year. Co-founders say the new platform will share community voices and train youth across Denneday in the radio journalism industry.
Some mentorship as well, like he said, mentoring the youth into getting into this line of work, because as we can see, it can provide a way of communicating from your community, and really nurturing that love, but nurturing the love of your community and telling those stories and getting them out there as clearly and capably as possible.
Frigid temperatures are nothing new for residents in the Northwest Territories, and many heat their homes by wood stove. For the past decade, one man from the small community of Deda has been building and selling wood stoves, but his stoves are no ordinary stoves. In fact, he builds most of them from materials he finds at the dump. Our reporter Charlotte Mort Jacobs has more.
This is made out of plate steel, and this is square tubing.
Did you find that at the dump?
Yeah, I found a square tubing at the dump and the metal too.
It's not your ordinary materials for building a stove.
And these were formerly safes, in-room safes for the hotels.
But for David Giroux of Deda Northwest Territories, it's just the typical tools of the trade. He is up to 250 stoves, made from whatever he can find at the Yellowknife dump.
With the cooking compartment transferred into a totally multi-use stove. Now I got a stove that produces heat, it's an oven, it's a barbecue and a smoker, all in one.
Giroux has buyers from near and far across the 3 territories for his stoves made out of oil drums.
Say if I got a barrel, a 45-gallon drum from the dump, okay, I'd bring it home, I cut that a section off, and I put the top into the bottom half, squish them together, then I weld around it, then I put the legs on, and then from there I put the stovepipe on, and I cut the opening for the top, the cooking compartment, and I put all the features in for the cook and the lid. Then I cut an opening for the door, and I put the door on too.
The stove, complete with cooking compartment, sells for around $300, a fraction of the cost for anything you would find in Yellowknife. Trouble is, the stoves are strictly for the outdoors. Giroux needs to get them certified before his stoves can be used indoors.
Yeah, my stoves are more durable. They're about twice as thick as the airtight heater, and taken care of. It'll probably last 10 years easily.
According to Giroux, getting certified is a lengthy process and requires a fair bit of cash to send off products to the south.
In 2009, the federal government would pay for patents. And patent lawyers are they're about $500 an hour. And prior to 2009, the government would pay for it. So I didn't make enough money to put the application in, so I just left it. Now my next step was trying to get it certified.
Giroux says he hopes to move more product and approach the territorial government with his business plan this spring. Charlotte Mort Jacobs, APTN National News, Deda.
Some great work, David. Good luck with the certification. Time for another quick break, and then we'll look back on the life of Ryan Arcand, who gained international fame for his piano playing. Here's a look at the rest of Wednesday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta. Sunny and 5 below in Peace River and Fort McMurray. -7 in Medicine Hat and Lethbridge. Over to the west coast, +7 in Vancouver, Campbell River, Port Hardy and Bella Coola. 0 in Prince George and Smithers. -4 in Fort Nelson. In Yukon, -9 in Rock River, Mayo and Watson Lake. Over to NWT, -11 in Ray Lakes and Norman Wells, -10 in Wrigley. 17 below in Sax Harbor, -14 in Paulatuck. In Nunavut, -13 in Arviat and Repulse Bay, -23 in Cambridge Bay, -11 in Cape Dorset, 34 below in Resolute. Welcome back. Ryan Arcand, an Edmonton homeless man who is known for his brilliant piano playing, has died. Originally from the Alexander First Nation, Arcand gained international fame in 2014 when a video of him playing went viral. Boyle Street Community Services said he died in his home. Arcand was 46 years old.
I don't want to be famous. I just want to play. Sometimes, when I'm in a bad mood, sometimes, well, not a bad mood, when I'm feeling down, once in a while I'll ask myself, why can't people just leave me alone and just let me live and let me play? That's all I want. Oh, let me get you.
Okay.
What a player. Such sad news to leave on tonight. But some laughs are just around the corner. An all-new episode of The Laughing Drum with Tim Fontaine starts in just a few minutes. For news anytime, including much more on the extension requested by the National Inquiry, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And don't forget to join us tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Central for In Focus. Our live discussion will look at Standing Rock, 1 year after the camps were closed down at gunpoint. Laughing Drums next. I'm Dennis Ward. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Okay.